Hello everybody, my name is Mike Gag, and in this video we are going to create our very first C# program in Visual Studio 2010. Now for my other video, you should remember this screen. This is the start page that you see whenever you open Microsoft Visual Studio, and what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a new project. So I'm going to come up here, I'm going to click New Project, and this window is going to pop up here. This is a little bit of a recap from the previous video, but I'm going to select Console Application. Now down here I want to give this a meaningful name. I want to name my console application something that makes sense, something that I will remember. Some of you might have the option to select where you want your project saved. I've actually disabled that option on mine because I generally don't save the applications I make really quick for these videos, so I don't see that. But you might see that, and if so, you can just save it to someplace you can find it, like your desktop or a programs folder or whichever. I'm going to name this application Hello World, because I believe every application you should make for the first time in any language should be the Hello World application, and I'll hit OK. Now our project is created, and you can see a few things here. In the Solution Explorer, we have this solution called Hello World. In Visual Studio, you can have a solution with multiple projects inside of it. We're only going to work with one solution right now and with one project right now. So in the solution Hello World, I see the project Hello World. And we can see Hello World listed here, and it's also the name of our namespace. Now a namespace is a grouping of similar code to kind of give everything a scope. I'm not going to get too much into that now, we can talk about that later, but just note that we see that. We also have this thing called class program. Again, not going to talk too much about classes just yet. However, if you do have a familiarity with programming, object-oriented programming, the word class in an object that is a class should be pretty familiar to you. And then finally we have this static void main that takes in a string of arguments. These are like your command line arguments or your processor or preprocessor arguments or whatever. Okay. And so what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and write some code here. This is going to be a really simple application. I'm simply going to do console.writeLine. It helps if I spell things right. And that's going to allow me to write to my screen. And it is a function, so it's going to be written like this. Now I know that's not quite right yet because it's not writing anything, but I just want to point out that it's console.writeLine. And then inside the parentheses here is where we're going to put the string that we'd like to output. So I'm going to type hello world. I don't need, actually, I did the /n there because I'm used to C++. You don't have to do that because this is WriteLine. WriteLine will put the new line at the end of it. I could have also done write, and I'll show you the differences here. Okay, so this is our first program. It's really simple, just the one line of added code, the only code that's not generated for us. Now I'm going to show you when I run this, you're going to see it flash and go away. Well, you might be thinking, well, how am I going to check to make sure this works? In Visual Studio, we have something called Start Debugging, which is what F5 is, that green arrow is, or Start Without Debugging. Now, starting without debugging will ignore things like breakpoints and stuff like that, but it has one very useful feature. The window stays open. All right. And so what we can see here is hello world, press any key to continue. This is because I did console.write. You see how there's no new line after world and press any key to continue. So if I make this say write line, and then, oh, wait a minute. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to hit Control F5. That's the shortcut key for start without debugging. And we see hello world, press any key to continue. Fantastic. So our very first program works. This is all of the code. It's not a big deal. It's not a very big video. One last thing I do want to point out though is all the code is in this file right here called program.cs. That is our program, and so for start, all the code that we're going to do is going to be inside this program.cs, but we may do more in other files and things like that in the future. Alright, so that is going to conclude this video, and that will conclude part 1 of this video series on Windows programming with C#.